Three major sources of carbon. One is buildings, one is transportation, and one is power generation. And so I won't take up more time with all the details, but this is a very important conversation. And when I talk to universities, students, it's right near the top of their list. But the problem is we can't wait till our university students are in leadership positions 20 or 30 years from now to address these issues, because by then we're headed towards 500. It gets much harder and much more expensive and much more difficult to turn this around as time passes.
Next numbers are 240, 243, and 236. 240, 243.
That would be me. In relationship to your, you recently came out supporting energy policies which take into account global warming. And I would like to know your opinion of how that squares with the push for coal and oil exports out of Western ports, and how that will affect global warming and the pollution back over towards the western coast. So I guess just squaring those things in your ideas on dealing with and pretty much helping to support efforts to slow down the global warming.
So this issue of how is this coal going to be burned? Now there's plenty of issues about the transportation of the coal through our communities and the pollution along the way in the river and in the air of the communities, the impact on the tracks. There's all those issues. But this is an issue of where's that coal head and how it's going to be burned and what will the impact will be. This is why I've called for a programmatic environmental impact statement that would be a thorough study of just that question before we proceed with any such plans. I do think that as our president has elevated the issue in his speech to his annual State of the Union last year and his speech in Berlin, but it means every nation has to struggle with the things that are right at hand. Now, there's been an estimate that for us to keep the temperature of the planet from going up no more than 2 degrees centigrade, almost 4 degrees Fahrenheit, that essentially we can burn only 1/5 of the identified fossil reserves that are in the ground. That means we have to wrestle with kind of the question of more infrastructure to burn coal. Meanwhile, we have, you want to show everybody your blades, your wind blades? We've got, oh, here we go. We've got the, we've got alternatives. We have solar alternatives. We have wind alternatives. We have the ability to make our buildings produce less waste or use less energy, for our cars to go further on a gallon of gas or to switch to hybrids, to have our power production go from coal. We're shutting down coal in Oregon. It's going to be gone shortly, and we have a renewable energy standard at the state level. We have alternatives, and these alternatives will create a lot of jobs. So what a win for the planet could be a win for our economy as well. And so I guess that should square up those two things.
So it looks like we're kind of coming down to the wire here. We have time for about one more question. Are there topics that haven't been addressed? The numbers that I have here are 236, 233, and 226. Issues that have not come forward.
And any other student left who didn't get a chance to ask a question?
236, 233, 226. Any other questions in general?
As I mentioned to you earlier, I'm trying to get my master's in public policy, and I graduated from Oregon State University with a bachelor's in political science, and I spent 3 months in Cape Town, South Africa, largely working on women's rights. And in the U.S., we have a really low rate of female representation. In Congress, we're sitting at 18%. And only 2 countries in the world have reached 50% female representation, and we're lower than all of Western Europe and Canada and Mexico. So just, what are your thoughts on that? What do you think are ways that we can combat that? Women are supposed to be afforded the same opportunities that men are, but there's a disconnect somewhere because we're not getting to where we should be.
Yeah. I think we certainly are in the middle of a significant transition. Here we look at the West Coast and the 3 West Coast states. 4 of the 6 senators are women, both from Washington, both from California. With the defendant I first saw when I was an intern for Senator Hatfield, and I was assigned to a bill that had a lot of amendments, so there was no cell phones, of course, no internet, and no TV camera on the floor. So the staff member ran up to the staff gallery, you covered the debate, and you ran down to meet your senator coming out of the elevator and brief the senator on the details. And I just don't remember seeing, I think there were 1 or 2 women in the U.S. Senate at that time, but that was it. Now it's a significant issue. I think we're over 20% in the U.S. Senate. I think Congress is a little lower. But so it's changing, and to your point, maybe not changing fast enough. It should be a steady progress of full participation in leadership roles. I was struck a couple years ago, I think that was Arizona, that had every statewide elected. I don't believe that included their delegation in D.C., but their statewide in-state. Every single one was a woman, and it's like those symbols keep coming up. And one thing I was involved in just recently was another shattering of the glass ceiling, and then I advocated for Janet Yellen to be the head of the Federal Reserve Board because I thought of the 2 individuals the president floated, she was far more qualified. One of the most powerful positions in the world, and a great symbol to our female students and young professionals that the pathways to rising to the highest positions are unfolding. Thank you. Did you want to jump in for a final comment here? Do we have time? Okay.
Where's the plug go if we go?
Senator? I just wanted to thank you for having this town hall in the high school. And I don't know that you noticed that Candy and I were doing one of these things. To the comment about affordability in education, Candy and I, as superintendent and president for education in the region, have been working for the last 6 months at least on finding ways to improve access to higher education. And just a couple of things. One of the things we've done is we've frozen tuition at Columbia Gorge Community College. So students can now plan. The other thing we've done is we initiated the Gorge Scholars Program, which says that if you have a 3.5 GPA coming out of the 22 high schools in the Gorge, you will get your 2 years of education at the community college for free. The third thing we're doing is we're working a partnership with Oregon State University. They currently have put a person on our campus as part of their open campus program, and I'm working with the president of OSU so that some of the scholarships they give, they will tie to the Gorge Scholars Program so that for students, and you said earlier about creating a vision, right, for success. I think that's what students need, is some hope that if they work hard, they will have an opportunity to get a university degree. And so OSU is considering picking up our Gorge Scholars Program to give a 4-year degree. The other thing I'm sorry, I just had to do this, sir. The other thing we've been working on is Kenny and I have been looking at how do we provide more opportunities for students in high schools. So we, the college, have been putting counselors and instructors here at the high school, and we've been looking at ways to certify instructors or teachers at the high school